Welcome to the BleedRedblacks Podcast with your hosts Mike, Colin, Jeanine, and Santino. Produced by Mark and Johnny Z. BleedRedblacks starts now.
Hey, welcome to BleedRedblacks Season 3, Episode 14. We're back in the South Keys, the Skeleton Crew. That's right, it's awfully quiet around here, but I am joined by the one and only producer Mark. What's up, buddy?
Oh, not too much. How you doing?
You look pretty good in that seat. I'm used to seeing season ticket holder Mike to my left wearing his fancy
so much
clothes.
real estate down here right now.
And just spread right out.
No,
That's
I
right.
might have to do some man spreading in my own
Let's do
basement.
this. All right. let me pull these slacks up a bit. And so as you guys know, season ticket holder Mike's out of town on business. Jeanine's on vacation. Johnny Z is busy with school, so and Santino's back in Brazil. So, and then there were two. I'm pretty sure that most people expect that the podcast is going to sound a little bit like this.
Wake world, party time, excellent.
Now, Mark and I think, we're not that dumb.
Yeah, we're a couple educated dudes.
Or pretend anyway. Good at faking it.
Yeah. I got a piece of paper on the wall.
Wikipedia is amazing. So hey, we're kind of hoping that today sounds a little bit more like this.
This is the Late Night Jazz Show where we play jazz and it's late at night, so we play jazz.
So the Riders stuck around after their victory last week. We're not going to talk too much about that. Y'all know what happened. We lost in overtime. It was upsetting. It was terrible.
I think we're going to have to get Dub to send us another bottle of dill pickle vodka.
I think we may have to do that. At this rate, this last episode's going to be a sloppy one.
Yeah,
I made them extra sloppy for you.
I'm going to have to get a couple Costco-sized jugs of the Clamato juice to get through that dill
For
pickle
Chaser.
vodka.
Yeah, so I thought that was really neat. The Riders held a practice at Parliament Hill, on the hill, which contravenes many laws, or so I thought, but apparently you can have organized sporting events there. I don't know why the Red Blacks haven't done this yet. I thought it was really fun. Trudeau was out there showing that he doesn't have
He's
much of an arm on him.
He's a better politician than he is a QB. Yeah.
Absolutely. So good on them. It was really fun. And
so, Burris, don't injure yourself because we're not going to get the fearless leader to
apparently
jump in his Q3.
Apparently, one of the riders tackled him, and he was seen walking away with a funny-looking pinky, so I don't know what happened. Hopefully he's okay.
Uh-oh.
Pinky Gate
Sunny
2.0. Last week, you and I... no, it wasn't last week.
No,
it was just 2 days ago. Yeah, it sums
Time
up how
flies,
I'm feeling. We went and saw Bloody Roots again, so that was pretty amazing. Went to Barrymores, classic venue in the city, and not only saw a few other bands too. We're going to play a little bit of their track later. They did a really awesome Rush cover, so that was cool. But yeah, Sepultura.
Best way to walk into a venue.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, had a great time. Really missed the rest of the Montebello crew. 3 of the 5 were there. Mish and season ticket holder Mike weren't, unfortunately, but I sent them a video of some stuff, and they thought it was pretty rad.
We should have brought headshots on popsicle sticks just so we could feel like we had the
it would
together.
have. Well, I mean, it would have upped our selfie game. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And let's be honest, at a metal show with that demographic, I didn't see one person take a selfie the whole time.
Nope.
Yeah, they're just more concerned about being out on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Like, man, I got a meeting at 8 a.m. Debate part 2. So I don't know if you watched it, but
I definitely watched it.
And what did you think of this
I'd
round?
like to apologize on behalf of
humans,
every sane person on the planet. My God, what a train wreck!
Yeah, let's just leave it at there.
Yeah,
I accept your apology.
No, I would never do that. I'd like to apologize.
Yeah, and like you said, the dill pickle shots are adding up, and people on Twitter are saying they can't hook us up with more, and we may have to do this outside at the rate we're going.
My only question is these people on Twitter, like, why would they know where to find this stuff?
I don't know. I guess
it's that awful.
I know, but to be fair, and I can't believe I'm being fair, we've only done shots of it. Maybe it is delicious in...
Fair and balanced. What are we, Fox News? Come on.
I apologize. So, as we know, Mike is on the East Coast drinking IPAs. Working. And Jeanine is in Italy pounding wine. Drinking vino. They must have IPAs in Italy, too, don't they?
I don't know if Peroni qualifies as an IPA, but yeah, whatever. It goes down smooth.
Whatever. Just blast some hops in there. We'll figure something out.
Hoppy wine. That could be the new thing.
Okay, so we're actually going to blast into a little segment I'm going to call Dr. Routhier in the house. And it is your house, so it should be called Dr. Routhier in
Disclaimer,
in
not a
his
real
house.
doctor, but more like Dr. Zayas in the house.
So let's blast into a little bumper, and we're going to come back and talk about the knee, Chris Williams' injury, and how the Red Blacks are going to get through this.
Right on. Let's do it.
Want to know something? I'm a bad doctor. I'm not boasting. I mean, who would? Just stating a fact. I've never really gotten the hang of the whole healing the sick thing. And don't interpret this as some sort of false modesty, please. It's not. It's not like I'm weak in some areas. No, I'm homogeneously unqualified to practice medicine in any capacity. I really don't have a clue.
All right, so let's all take a knee. Oh, groan. How did that get through production? Oh, yeah, wait, we don't have anyone else here. Boom.
Yeah, the producer's occupied on a microphone.
Bad jokes in your face. With the devastating loss of Chris Williams last week, it was brutal due to a torn ACL. We thought that we should talk about knee-related injuries. The knee, I mean, they are the most common among football players.
Yep.
And losing Chris Williams is a huge blow to an already dysfunctional offense that's been sputtering and looking for answers. Williams has been a beast for the Red Blacks since returning from the NFL. He is currently third in the CFL in receiving yards with 1,246 and 10 touchdowns, a number that's very respectable for an 18-game season, let alone through the first 14. He already surpassed his numbers from 2015, where he played a full season. Same thing, 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, Mark, I know you've had some issues in the past with your knees as well, right?
I've had my fair share of run-ins. Much like Gibson, I thought I was a lot better at something than I actually was. Oh, shots fired! So I've bunged up both my knees actually in the past. So, as a disclaimer, I'm not a real doctor, but I have a lot of doctor friends. So I emailed a couple of buddies of mine this week and just asked them a simple question like, hey, we're going to do this little kind of educational bit for the show, and I'm going to put out some feelers. Can you give me a kind of a crash course in sounding intelligent on radio?
And you go, I got to be honest, I gave you some homework to do.
Yeah.
This was a task I did not want to take on. And you came through for me, so that's pretty awesome. As long as they don't ask you to write football notes, we're
precisely.
golden.
So the first response I got back was from a good buddy of mine out west, and his response just read, if the knee happens to be situated on a cock, we're golden. Otherwise, and I can help you out. Otherwise, try somebody who isn't a urologist.
Okay, maybe not the best angle or the first person to contact.
Yeah, I figured, you all went to med school. You probably have a general understanding, but they just don't comment unless it's their area of expertise. So I have another buddy of mine who's a
kind of a funny way to be dismissive too.
Precisely, yeah, exactly.
Hey, fake Dr. Routhier, you think I got time to talk about this shit?
It's like, not on text message, ass.
Yeah.
So I got another buddy who's an orthopedic surgeon in Toronto, and so I had a quick little chat with him. And so basically, knee injuries are the most common in sports like soccer, football, rugby, anything that requires, pivoting, sidestepping, or any out of control movement when you're on the move.
Like an awkward landing, I guess, in case of
Yep.
Williams. Yeah.
Or you see guys, especially in football, CFL or NFL, those kind of flying one-handed catches in the end zone where they're landing on one foot sideways, trying to keep their feet in bounds. You mean that's when these things typically happen. So just kind of taking it back to a concept. So if you think of your knee joint as kind of, it's, 3 bones, 4 rubber bands, which are ligaments, and a mouse pad, which is basically a puck of cartilage. It's called a meniscus that just kind of cushions between the joints. So you've got 4 main ligaments in your knee. You've got the ACL or anterior cruciate ligament. And then you've got the posterior cruciate ligament, which is front and back, so anterior, posterior. Those are what basically give you stability in the knee.
And those are obviously the most common
Those are
injuries,
the most common
right?
injuries.
Yeah.
ACL being the prime one. You also have 2 other ligaments that hold the sides of your knees for sideways stability, and they're called your MCL or medial collateral ligament. And then you've got your lateral collateral ligament, which is the LCL. So typically, especially in football, what's called the unhappy triad is the term you're going to hear in sports. And what that is that's an injury to both the MCL, a tear of the ACL, and then a partial tear of your meniscus. And that is a common kind of trifecta of injuries because they all happen to just interact when those movements take place. So typically with... go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just saw in your notes here that you said approximately 70% of these injuries are non-contact.
They're non-contact relations. So it's pivoting, it's taking side steps, hard stopping and starting, or awkward landings.
I guess such a fast game, the amount of force that is coming through that knee is pretty remarkable.
A lot of people would envision that it's going to be that hit to the knee that's going to cause that brute force that's going to snap a ligament. But in fact, it's 70% of the time, it's nothing to do with that.
Right.
So what ends up happening when you hear somebody has an ACL injury, you can either have a partial tear, a sprain, or a full tear. Commonly, it's a full tear that you're going to see. There's no way just to go in there and sew it back together. They have to do a fairly invasive procedure, which is a little bit less severe now, where they'll take a ligament from another part of the body, or from a cadaver. So if it's from your own body, it's called an autograft. If it's from a cadaver, it's an allograft. And what they essentially do is they'll go in arthroscopically, which means they're using, basically it's like doing surgery with chopsticks, right? They'll make 2 small incisions, about a
It's the only song
centimeter
I can play on the piano, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a wicked jam, too.
So you can do knee surgery now, basically.
Okay,
So what they're going to do is they're going to go in there, they're going to remove the old damaged tissue, they're going to repair the meniscus if it's damaged, and then they'll basically drill what's called a bone canal through the femur and the tibia. And then they're going to connect that graft into, so the ligaments they're going to harvest are going to have what they call bone pockets on both ends. And that's something that they'll notch into the bone tunnel, and they secure it with screws, and then eventually that bone grows back together, and it gives you the strength back. And it's what it's led to is now, whereas 20 years ago, an ACL injury was career-ending for any athlete.
Yeah.
Whereas now you look at Jordy Nelson,
your man, that's right,
from my big cheese,
that's right,
from my Packers. He went out August 23rd with a full ACL tear during the preseason game against the Steelers. Unfortunately, piece of crap team, and he was back almost 6 months later to the day at training camp in April. So that's where we've come today, from career ending to 6 months and you're back playing the sport.
Well, so it sounds like at this point, 2016, the surgery is the easy part.
Yep.
You had mentioned here, most patients are in and out in the hospital 4 to 6 hours. And the hard part is the recovery process.
The Carhartt? You are from Winchester, aren't you?
Sorry. Hey, man, full disclaimer. Cold meds. Yeah, tongue-tied. That's okay. Maybe I should. Is there any of that dill pickle vodka within proximity? Mix that with some Sudafed and just blast off.
So, yeah, you're right. It's 90% of the recovery time is going to be in your rehab. And when you look at the difference between what a guy like you and I, the kind of service we'd get if we went in to get an ACL surgery done, and let's say Jordy Nelson, apart from the fact that they're probably going to spend $300,000 on their surgery.
Sure, Dr. James Andrews.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. What's going to happen is they're going to be doing physio before they go in for the surgery to maintain range of motion, right? Because that's the key, is to maintain that. What tends to happen with it in an ACL tear especially is your knee will stiffen up and swell. So you have to control that swelling, keep the movement going. Once that's been taken care of, you go in for your surgery, and normally they say the day after surgery they're going to start getting these guys on range of motion exercises and then into some pretty intense physio, and what they call cryotherapy, which is it's a method of icing the knee.
I know some emo people that do that all the time.
But what it does, it keeps that swelling down, right? And that swelling is what really impedes the recovery process,
right?
Because it doesn't have to take, they say 6 to 8 months now, but if you don't do the physio, or you don't have the resources, the time to do that physio, it can take up to a year to heal.
So I guess what you're saying is this does bode very well for Chris Williams' future. One has to hope the surgery will be a success.
Yeah.
And he'll be back on the field
I think
early
it's
next year.
Totally feasible that we could see him back at practice at the beginning of training camp.
So with Williams down, I guess the question is who will step up. And I mean, I'm going to say the timing is never perfect to get hurt. But just the Wednesday prior, Khalil Payton was cut. And it's great to see him back. This team is extremely lucky that Toronto decided to cut half of their wide receivers a few weeks ago. Otherwise, he wouldn't be available. So he was cut on Wednesday, got a phone call a few days later. He's now starting. It's an awesome story because he came here halfway through the first season. Excuse me. He's been grinding it out hard, and he's been on the practice roster a lot. And I really love the work ethic of those guys that'll grind and grind and grind, and patience pays off. And I really think he already has a chemistry with Henry, and with Henry being back in, we'll talk about that later.
We
it's going to work.
completely lucked out with the fortuitous timing of basically the salary cap dump that Toronto just went through.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having your car stolen on the eve of Midnight Madness at Bank Street Mazda, right? Like, it's like you couldn't pick a better time to have it happen.
You got this planned out, don't you? But you do live in the South Key, so I'm sure you wouldn't have any problem finding takers.
Another guy to keep an eye on is John Harris.
Oh, yeah, new
he's
guy.
been with the Red Blacks since training camp. Former Longhorn, had a 1,000-yard season in his senior year. Hasn't really had a chance yet to prove himself up here. Maybe this is his opportunity. Great size, great speed. Don't think he's ready. Don't think he's ready, but somebody to look for.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he'll be playing this week, but definitely a talented guy. Another one of those guys that you just got to hang around, right? And the opportunities will come. And those people, those really cocky, almost mentally weak players that can't handle grinding it out. They're the ones, they don't get these opportunities.
No, for sure. Jake Hardy last year, second round pick,
again
this year.
Good Canadian boy, as Mike would say, or Don Cherry would say.
Don Cherry, as long as he's not French Canadian, obviously.
Yeah. Jake Hardy, I think we're safe.
Yeah.
Some Calgary.
But since having been relegated to special teams duty, maybe this will draw him back in.
Sure.
John Kreiner, he's been the fifth wide receiver for the last few weeks. Made a few good catches. Nothing out of this world. Perhaps more looks equal more production.
Yeah, hopefully. So it sounds like even with Williams going down, it's obviously a huge loss, losing one of the best players in the league.
Oh, totally.
But winning teams, it's all about depth, and we'll talk about that in the game preview with Hamilton recently signing a bunch of players. But layering veteran depth is crucial, and we see it all the time. Well-coached teams can handle these injuries. So, okay. Thank you so much, fake Dr. Routhier. That was awesome.
No problem.
Hopefully everyone's still awake.
So, now with my new credentials, we're going to have to up my pay rate here, eh? It's going to be...
So well, if
2 boxes of Oreos.
I was going to say 200.
Ooh.
I don't know. I figured your multiplier would be outrageous.
Well, it's bill out time, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So
I don't know if OHIP pays in Oreos, though. I'll have to check that out.
We'll find out. You know what? Our benefits plan has changed so many times, I don't even know what's covered anymore. Okay, we're going to go into Santino's rant. He's really upset about the coaching, so let us have it, Santino.
Right on.
Welcome to the Red Black Renegade Rant with Santino Filoso.
If there's one thing I hate more than shotgun runs on second and short, and I really fucking hate shotgun runs on second and short, it's coaches outthinking themselves or totally changing something that's working simply for the sake of change. Let's take a look at Exhibit A from Friday night's overtime loss to the Green Whites. I'll set the stage. It's a 19-7 game. The third quarter is winding down. Ottawa's on Saskatchewan's 52-yard line, and it's 3rd and 7. The Red Blacks decide to go for it. But instead of choosing to roll with a guy who passed for 485 yards last week, or the Hall of Famer and reigning MOP on the bench, head coach Rick Campbell decided to let third-string QB Brock Jensen attempt a floater over the middle of the field. What the hell? I like my coaches aggressive, even if I personally wouldn't have gone for it in that situation, but I cannot stand for not using the best players at your disposal for that kind of call. When you decide to gamble, you should logically want to give yourself the best chance to succeed, which isn't with your third-string QB who hasn't thrown a pass all night. Worst of all, it's not the first time the Red Blacks have done this. They gambled on third down earlier this season with their third-string quarterback. Does anyone remember Danny O'Brien throwing a pass to defensive tackle Zach Evans in the end zone earlier this year? That's just brutal, right? As for the other thing I hate, when coaches change something that's working simply for the sake of change, we have Exhibit B, offensive coordinator Jamie Elizondo's play calling. Once Burris entered the game in the fourth quarter, he quickly proceeded to lead 3 scoring drives, put up 22 points, and get the game to overtime. In said overtime, instead of letting Burris sling it, and for the record, Burris was throwing darts, Elizondo dove deep into his playbook and dialed up 3 straight running plays. I was wondering if I missed something because going away from where to just put up 22 points didn't make any sense then, and it still doesn't now. 3 straight runs signaled that Ottawa was content to play small ball and go for a field goal attempt. which was ultimately missed. Now, perhaps that would have made sense if our defense had been on fire and been shutting down the Green Whites all night, but considering that it was getting picked apart like Donald Trump by a fact checker, going conservative on offense was beyond stupid. So here's my message to Campbell, Elizondo, and the rest of the coaching staff. When something is working, stick with it. Don't outcoach yourself. Let the other guys try and do that. That's all for this week, guys. Rant back at Red Black Gade, and remember to bleed Red Blacks.
Hey, Doc, just to be really safe, considering my age and all, I just wondered if maybe you don't want to check to see if there's a Darth Vader action figure in my butt.
Do you have a Darth Vader action figure in your butt?
Do I? No, I mean, why would I?
Well, the great thing is, you'd know.
Right.
So.
I would know.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
Welcome to the Coaches Roundtable on the Bleed Red Blacks Podcast.
So you heard it. Don't drink the water. I wouldn't. I do not like Dave Matthews, but this track is just perfect.
Better
it's
than
perfect.
Nickelback.
Well, is there nickel in the water? Yeah, I don't know.
Quite positive. That's why you don't drink it, right? Heavy metals.
Oh, I don't bring up heavy metal again. Cue the Sepultura. This is a huge game for the Red Blacks. Like last year, it sounds super cheesy, but like they control their own destiny. But it's kind of true. This week they can clinch with a win combined with a Montreal and Toronto loss. And the same thing goes for Hamilton. So a huge game for both. I don't want to say a playoff game, but essentially a win will go a long way. And this year the Ticats have been struggling at home, but normally they're a powerhouse. So I still think that's a really tough building to go into. The Ticats are making big moves heading into this Eastern Division battle. And the East is sputtering. Like, let's just say last week, the combined scores from both Eastern teams would have only tied one of the Western teams in their matchups. We talked about we thought the parity was kind of coming back last year when the East really came on.
Yep.
I think that was just kind of a sample size thing because I think the West is just crazy powerhouse. And there's like so much verbiage going on now of this needs to be 1-9 team division. And all the traditionalists are, upset about that. I don't think it's a terrible idea. Yeah. It would be a best on best, and but I guess if you don't mind Calgary, Edmonton, Grey Cup every year, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't mind that.
Oh, for sure. Just like Trump polling his family members as to who won the debate last week.
There you go. I'm just waiting. I thought you were just trying to throw another Apple-gize in there.
No, I've already apologized enough tonight.
Yeah, okay. I thought, you sure have.
They're gonna start to accuse me of apologizing.
It's too late.
I just don't do that ever.
People are starting to call out Coach Campbell too, including myself, and a lot of people feel that they don't know if we can win with him. I like a real rigid leader, and that's just the coach I always preferred to play for. That's the person that got the best out of me. Anyways, that's just a little aside. But like I said, the Ticats brought some people in. A couple moves that were really huge were they brought in Kevin Elliott, one of the receivers who was cut by Toronto, and that's huge. And they also added veteran linebacker Keon Raymond, who has a ring, and also running back Kendall Lawrence. So lots of vets, and they're making the moves. A lot of people are making the moves, and now's the time. The East is vulnerable, and the Ticats sense that. Okay, keys to the game offense. So everyone knows that the team looked more comfortable with Henry at the helm. Well, those people that didn't leave the game early anyways. Season ticket holder Mike.
Shots fired.
Yeah, it was only 10 and a half minutes left. It wasn't that early. But I mean, the Cubs... But to be honest, it was great because I spread out it was awesome.
Mike, we apologize for calling you out of the show.
No, he loves it. Hey, Mike, how's the yippers? And when Hank came in, what we witnessed was not only energy on the field, but energy in the stands. And I don't know, is it time to let him call his own plays? I don't know. It was pretty impressive what we saw Hank do in the last end of the fourth quarter. The Ticats have just signed some veterans, as I mentioned. And I used this quote earlier, but Austin used a term. layer veteran depth, and I love that. I don't like depth, but veteran depth. I think it goes a long way in the CFL, and it goes a long way in any sport, especially coming to the time of year where people are banged up, tired, and that mental strength goes a long way. So a few notables. One, former Red Blacks Justin Capasati was acquired last week in a trade. Cappy now joins John Chick on a Hamilton defense that leads the CFL in sacks with 41. And I'm worried. Our porous O-line needs to step up in a serious way. Some here in the 613 wish Cappy was back here.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Is this Burris' last chance? You know, if he flops, he'll only ever start a game again due to injury.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I think he'll be real solid as long as the playbook is tailored to his strengths, right?
Yeah.
Stay away from the long bombs. He doesn't have the accuracy. So keep it into that 50 to 25 yard range when he's definitely a threat in that area. And don't ask him to be Harris. One glaring difference aside from arm strength was the energy that Hank brings to the field like no other, right? He's got that rapport with the entire team.
The whole community.
And the whole community, they rally behind him, right? In a way that that Trevor just hasn't been able to gather yet. Right?
Mm-hmm. And he, Trevor Harris, for sure, elite quarterback, the quarterback of the future for the Red Blacks.
For sure.
This time last year, he was a quarterback in Toronto, and he was sputtering, and he in the same situation happened. He was pulled, and they put the veteran Ricky Ray in. So this isn't a new thing.
Yeah.
And maybe he's still learning how to be an everyday quarterback as well.
Precisely.
Keys the game defense. We're really expediting this. This is just going to be a super turbo show.
Yeah, we're blasting through this thing.
Well, we don't like Jeanine's monologues, like frig.
And we don't have to listen to the rant in person anymore, right?
There you go. Yeah. This is like I'm gonna be home before Jeopardy's over. This is awesome. With Zach Caleros on the shelf and Chad Owens out for the season. Also Luke Tasker, he's on the 1-game injured list. The guy I mentioned earlier, Kevin Elliott, we can't let him burn us. He's one of the few CFL players who actually made his CFL debut in Fort McMurray. Yeah. And he made it home.
You passed the drug test?
Well, I'm surprised you just didn't go hop on a rig, right? Yeah. Like, the homie's got to pay the bills, man.
More money.
Yeah, so like I said, congrats on making it home and not hopping on the ring, bud. Rig. I said ring.
Ring.
That's definitely, chalk that up to the Sudafed. But I mean, what else would you expect from a journeyman who once played for the Brooklyn Bolts? Yes, the Brooklyn Bolts. The league's now folded. It was an attempt to have a minor league for the NFL. Anyways, amazing alliteration. Very athletic guy who was a high school basketball standout. 16 games with the Argos last year. He had 50 receptions, 642 yards, 8 touchdowns. With the offense being thin in Hamilton, this is a dude that we really have to target. One other thing, like I said, Zach Caleros is out with a concussion. Mazzoli is going to be in. He's sporadic, and I think that playing against him gives us a lot better chance to win than playing against the talented Zach Caleros.
Gascon Nadon is back, and there's no time for him to shake off that rust. He really needs to make an impact off the edge because the last 2 games, opposing QBs have been giving away too much time and picked apart the D blocks. If Gascon Nadon can bring some heat, that would bode well for Aston Whiteside, who may have his strongest game of the season. Or may have had his
that was great to see. We need a lot of pressure from those guys, and especially with their backup playing, even a better time to really focus on an aggressive defensive strategy.
Oh, for sure.
All right, special teams. We are blasting through this. This is crazy. I'm just starting to sweat now, and we're almost done.
Record time. So it's been the low-hanging fruit, but Money Milo better start earning his paycheck. It's crunch time, and if he keeps missing kicks, he might be taking his next boot out the door.
Now, this is a very sensitive subject. There were a few people on our nation who were very upset when people said, he's got to go. But when your team comes back, when you think they have no chance and you miss a 30-yard field goal in overtime, that is beyond devastating. I don't know. I think that has to be automatic, to be honest. And when it's what you do, I don't want to seem insensitive, but when it's what you do, there has to be a certain level of expectation, and missing a 30-yarder in overtime, that's just not going to cut it, man.
I am pretty sure I've seen a drunk Southsider on a halftime game show at the barn kick a 30-yarder. So if they can do it, so can Milo, right? If he's booting 50-yarders and making them, it's just there's got to be something going on there as to why he's missing the easy ones, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes down to clutch time, that 3-point kick.
And we've seen him made those kicks in the past, so
that's what he needs to be able to capitalize on.
I know things happen, and I know that kickers aren't perfect. I get it.
Yeah,
but
sure.
there's certain kickers that you just know in that clutch situation they're gonna be there for you. And at times he has looked like that guy. And for us to compete, in spite of all the injuries and the moving and shaking that's going on right now, we have no choice.
Yeah.
And a 30-yard field goal has to be automatic.
Yep,
it just does. And if it's not, then maybe you just be aggressive and just start tossing it and just get rid of it.
That's the kicker, the subject right there.
I get boom shakalaka. Well, the show was going well. So much for that. It's officially a barn burner. So this is one for Santino. My in-depth analysis. Just don't suck. But really, I think that's all we have to do.
Turn up the good, turn down the suck. You
yes,
broke
sir,
the
Diener.
suck.
The wind in Hamilton can be extreme. And when it's at our back, we have to take advantage of the field position game. And that's going to be huge. I think the punter, Zach Medeiros, firstly, Zach Medeiros, get your stickum out, son. He dropped one last week, and it was a nightmare. Anyways, get your stickum out, bud. So it looks like we have two positions where we lead the league in drops. Rim shot. Oh my God, we can't segue to this segment with that, can we? Looks like we are.
I think we're going to have to get a podcast drum kit down here so we can do those rim shots on the fly.
So I think that, like I said, this game's super important. A win, not winning you're in, but win and you're good to go.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of our nation going down there. Keep in mind that the Hamilton fans can be a little rowdy, and so just don't give them an excuse to be assholes. Let's just carry ourselves the way we want to carry ourselves, cheer on our team, and just take the high road if possible.
Yeah. In the words of Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high.
Boom. Yeah. Right over the Burlington Skyway, past Hamilton, keep going to Niagara.
Preferably between the uprights, Milo.
There you go. All right, let's go to the outro, and then we'll get out of here.
Right on.
The knee bone's connected to the something. The something's connected to the red thing. The red thing's connected to my wristwatch.
All right, well, thanks, bud. This has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, nice, relaxing, kind of down-tempo week.
Yeah, and I learned a lot about the knee, so that's pretty cool. Maybe we'll pop a visual onto our Twitter account. This is a very simplified version of what...
grab a little bit of a diagram. You know, that hopefully doesn't have red things connected to the blue things and wristwatches in it. But
hey, man, there's some pretty high-quality watches out there, you know. I'm sure it won't be long until they can incorporate that into a surgery, too,
the
right?
Rolex knee watch.
Not
only does it work again, but it tells the time.
Hey, if people will pay whatever it is to get their hair cut with solid gold shears, I mean, people will pay for the solid gold ACL replacement, right?
Yeah,
isn't that pretty much like that's PIM?
Soft malleable metal, that makes
PIMP,
sense for
man. So I'm having lots of fun watching baseball, all the games, especially the Jays. But a lot of fun.
To see a team from Toronto win something for a change.
Sure.
Not that I really like any of the Toronto franchises. I mean, obviously, as a Canadian, everybody has to get behind the Jays. But in general, that city they get the pits in their sports teams in the sense that it's just disappointment every year. It's nice to see them succeed.
I mean, I don't see how anyone can be upset with something positive.
Yeah,
like, there's people on Twitter who are upset that they're saying Canada's team. It's like, how bad is your life that something like that actually upsets you? Like
disgruntled Expos fans.
It's all good. Okay, boom. All right, I'm done. I'm out. You should have talked about this. This is why we have pre-production meetings. But for real, let's just enjoy it. If you don't like it, change the channel, and no one's forcing you to watch or read anything about it.
And if it feels like 93 all over again, that might mean my Habs are going to win the Stanley Cup too.
If it feels like 93 again, I definitely have steps shaved in the side of my head, a wicked mullet, and glasses that make me look like Jesse Raphael.
So do we want to put a little bit of a friendly bet on this one? If the Jays end up going the long distance, are you going to put the steps in the side of your head and grow the hockey hair again?
Oh, do I not have to drink the dill pickle vodka?
Trade off.
Okay, let me get back to you on that one.
Well, check with the wife first.
I got and HR. HR. I don't know if they actually help your career path.
I don't know if you can find a barbershop that would know how to do that anymore.
Oh, come on. If there's a will, there's a way. Kidding me? Guys I went to high school with were rednecks and got perms. So their hair would be curly in the back of their hats. There's always a way to get
Is
it
it
done.
going to be as good as Max Cavalera's beaver tail?
Unidread?
Yeah, the Unidread beaver tail he had rocking.
Oh, that was amazing. All right, thanks again, Mark. So next week, we actually have a full crew in here. AJ Jackieback's going to be in here from the TSN 1200. Ken Lancaster from the Lumberjoes.
Yeah.
He's going to be down here. We haven't seen Ken since last year, so it's going to be awesome to catch up with him. He, too, has been busy as hell traveling for work. Got to pay the bills.
Oh, obviously.
And AJ, obviously, is very, very busy with his responsibilities with the 67s and the Red Blacks,
Yep.
but just an awesome dude, and I'm sure he'll have
Always
something
great
to
to
say
have him in the
about Roots, Bloody Roots as well. I mean, he
Obviously, I
knows.
hope so.
He
Yeah.
knows. Maybe he was there.
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
I wasn't, like I said, you know me when we
I
go
wasn't looking around for people I knew.
you know me when we go out in public, I'm not accepting friend applications. So all right, thanks again for helping me out. Thanks again to the crew. Helped us out with the writing this week. That was great. And Mark, thanks for putting in your due diligence and teaching me about the Knee. That was awesome.
You know,
So.
it's always nice to put a little bit of effort towards writing something down as opposed to pushing buttons for a change. So
Awesome, man. Well, hopefully, with that being said, you still have your other work.
yeah,
to
I
do,
know.
right?
My job just starts now. So
Well, I guess I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So, all right, thanks, guys. We're gonna win this weekend in Hamilton. I can feel it. We got a good Red Blacks crew going down there. And remember, don't drink the water.
Thank you for stopping by on this week's episode of the Bleed Red Blacks Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bleed Red Blacks, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bleed Red Blacks Podcast.